There was no big breakthrough in this meeting, but it was a productive meeting for all of us to have a conversation about the upcoming session. And I think we all agreed that we are on a track for a regular session here to resolve the issues or work to resolve the issues before the state. So we talked about a number of things. Obviously, the centerpiece of that is talking about the state budget crisis that we have and that we face, and that we all are on the same page that we are in a budget crisis mode here. There's a very big problem to solve, and we are all committed to work towards solving that problem. We also talked about some of the other issues that Minnesotans are thinking about: basic health care for Minnesotans, GAMC, and possible timeline for passage of a bill on GAMC, a jobs package or a couple of jobs packages, including a capital investment bill that will be passed early in the legislative session, as well as another jobs package that will help small businesses and really take what we are hearing from people around the state to help spur our economy both in the short and the long term. So I would characterize it as a positive meeting. We are going to meet again with the governor, probably not next week, but the following week, to continue the work, and chairs who are going to be an important part of getting this work done are going to be asked to continue their work with the administration in negotiating some of these ideas.
Was there any agreement on
I think in terms of discussion, it was an excellent meeting. It was a very good tone, very good discussion. I agree with the governor's comment. I think that this is a quote: "The challenge we face is of epic proportions." I absolutely agree with the governor on that with regards to the budget. We have requested that the governor come before the legislature with a budget address and discuss with the people who need to be voting on these issues the seriousness of the situation, and lay out his suggestions for solutions. He's been very clear that he intends to do it all through budget reductions. I think we are willing to start from that point, but our expectation is that he will then present us with a budget that is honest, straightforward, and that implements those types of budget reductions that would be necessary. I expressed that I thought it would have to be a bipartisan solution to make those kinds of significant budget cuts, but the first step is for the governor to have a genuine, honest proposal presented to the legislature, and then come and speak to us about the seriousness of the situation. We hope that he does that. I believe that the historical nature of this budget crisis requires the leader of the state to publicly come before the citizens and address it in an honest, straightforward fashion, and I hope he would do that.
And, well, we were talking about specifically that the state of the state is historically and been used as that budget address, either in written form in the early years of our democracy in Minnesota or in a presentation. And so I made sure the governor knows he's welcome in the House chamber to come and give that state of the state. We feel that that's a very important part of this in showing the goodwill and in the tone that was this meeting, which was a positive tone, a very serious tone about where we are, but a positive one. And so we want to work with the governor to make sure every accommodation is made to do that in the House chamber, to have that budget address, also known as the State of the State, presented in the House chamber so everyone's together.
I think we all agree that the words and the tone was very positive. We now need to have that followed up by action. And the first step of that is a budget proposal we had hoped would come by the middle of January. The governor wasn't sure whether he could give us his proposal by the middle of January, but we encourage him to do as quickly as he can so that we can get to work. So again, extremely positive tone, best in several years. We just need that to be followed up now by positive action so that it's not just words.
Now, Leader, you mentioned honest budget proposal 6 times just now. Did you expect something different? Or is this based on
No, we expect a honest, straightforward. You know, all the shifts and gimmicks are gone, so I expect an honest, straightforward budget proposal.
Senator, are you assuming that the $2.7 billion that was on a lot of Madam Speaker, is that going to have to be part of the equation, or are you assuming
We didn't discuss that. It's not part of the court case right now. I think there was a general consensus. There's no need for a special session, and so we're focused on the 1.2 plus. We're focused on. Some of us, on, and we hope the governor, taking a bite out of the $5.4 to $8 billion problem. So the tone was positive, long-term thinking, and again, we need that followed up now by action. And the governor, I think he nodded. I don't want to quote him on this, but when I suggested that we take a significant bite out of the long-term, either 5.4 or $8 billion, he nodded or said yes. I forget exactly what it was, but I hope. Again, we need him to follow up now with actions on that. So
you mentioned accommodating the governor. Was there any suggestion of a special session that might happen or any accommodation there?
I think it was mutually agreed on pretty quickly that the special session isn't needed. I think it was under the idea that possibly others would rush to join the existing lawsuit that's out there. That has not happened. I think we have some time here. You know, we in the House remain committed to making sure that school districts do have some plan for repayment. We prefer that to be with real revenue. Those are going to be some sticking points along the way.
Did the governor say whether he was willing to support the bonding bill in the first month of session?
Yes, he did. I mean,
He would sign a bill?
I think that the governor, and he'll be, obviously his folks will be speaking for him shortly here. He does realize the seriousness of the depth of unemployment, of how that's hit the construction industry, as well as other things that we can do as a state to stimulate job creation, small businesses being created in the state, and things that we can do. So I think we are on the same page on that, and that we're going to work very quickly to do that. Now, there was no talk about the size of what the governor is willing to sign, nor was there discussion on our part of that. Just that our current statements that we've said in the past hold, that we expect that we will pass a bill somewhere around $1 billion.
Senator, on the budget reductions, you've indicated, the governor's indicated that he thinks this all can be solved with budget cuts. Is this a way, you're asking him to provide and show you how he can do that all through budget cuts?
Absolutely. I mean, if that's his position, then I think it's incumbent upon him to show us how you would do that in an honest way. And we all know that the solution to the previous one was 2/3 or 80% shifts and gimmicks. And I think we're at the point now where, again, the governor says this is of epic proportions. I think it's time now to get serious, and if those who believe that you can do this through solely budget reductions, it's time for them to put that on the table, and we encouraged both the minorities in the House and the Senate to participate in that. I would be less than straightforward. I think it's difficult to do it just with reductions, but we're going to start there and try to do it. And obviously, if those who are fundamentally committed to doing that aren't willing to show you how to do that, why would they expect anybody else to do it? So, well, yeah.
Yes.
Why would somebody vote for something they don't really think is the right thing for the state? So I think it's incumbent and important step to have the governor's supplemental budget as soon as possible. We had thought it would be by mid-January, as soon as possible, and it needs to be a straightforward, honest accounting of what the situation is. And that means you have to cut an additional $1.2 billion at a minimum. And if you're going to address, if you do have some concerns about the previous solution, which was 2/3 one time, then you should, in my judgment, you would need to actually cut more than $1.2 billion. But let's see what you've got, and let's try to do something that makes sense. And you can't have a mixture of things that looks like it might work or something. You got to have something that actually works. And then the hard work comes of convincing those who do not want to do it through cuts that that's what you have to do. But you can't do that hard work until the people who say that that's what they want to do actually propose it. And they need to propose it in writing, in an honest way, that we can add up the math and look at it, and then let's deal with it. And I'm committed, and now I'm speaking just for the Senate, because I don't want to put words in anybody else's mouth. The Senate is absolutely committed to working from the governor's framework if it's an honest rendering of what the situation is.
Is it your concern that you're getting lip service from people who say they want cuts but don't really?
It's a new day, it's a new year. We want everybody, the tone in here was we're all going to stand up for what we believe in, and I think it's not asking too much for those who say they believe in that to now put it down in writing.
And we'll say that Representative Zellers is a new leader at the table, and he seemed to have some ideas even earlier today about where reductions can be made, and that is an important step going forward. We did have some issues last year at the end of session with an unwillingness to vote for significant cuts out of the minority parties, and so we fully expect that this is going to be an effort that everybody's going to be working on. Just so I run through, I think we see the session beginning to shape up like this. In 2 weeks, we will meet again, the governor and the legislative leaders. There's going to be a lot of work that happens already and has begun on budget work, on general assistance medical care, on the bonding bill. And then we fully expect in the first couple of full weeks of session to pass a significant jobs package that he can sign, another significant jobs bill shortly thereafter that the governor can sign again, that is going to help stimulate growth in Minnesota, that we are going to be able to find a mutually agreed upon solution for the GAMC problem. That is our first preference, that the governor is going to sign that bill, and that we are able to begin the framework of solving the larger budget deficit problems that we face.
Speaker, two questions. One, LCPFP meetings, will those continue?
Actually, the gavel has been handed to Senator Poggemiller for this year.
We're going to have an open process on trying to resolve the budget, and to the extent that it's a positive, helpful activity, we're going to do it, yes.
Any reaction to Judge Garen's statement today that she'd like to see the appeals process fast-tracked?
Oh, I think that's the right thing to do. I think that having a fast track is important. People have a lot of questions right now. I also think, once again, she reiterated, I think, what is an open invitation for the democracy that we have to work, the executive and legislative coming together to find solutions together. And it does remind you a little bit again of being married. It takes a little bit of work on each side of this to come to agreement. And as a person who's been in that committed relationship for almost 18 years with my husband, I know what that's like. And I think that the state is looking for us each to take a little bit from each side of this and really come together. So that's what we're looking for in this.
This seems like it might be headed for divorce court.
Well,
based on
not today's meeting.
Not
based on today's meeting. And if there's actions that follow up the positive tone today, I think we could have a successful.
Do you feel like you're leaving with a firm commitment that he would sign an early bonding bill if he passed it?
Yes.
Yeah, he may not sign one of the same size, but.
What's in the second jobs bill? Is that angel tax credits? Or
Yeah.
what's all in that?
I think it's a number of things. We've had a number of members, House and Senate, working during the interim, and I can point to the work of the Small Business Caucus in the House bipartisanly, surveying over 1,000 small businesses. That survey is still open today for people to do, and getting and gathering information from them about the sorts of things they'd like to see. Everything from angel investor credit, which is really about spurring private investment in the state and creating a lot of private sector jobs. That is our hope through that tool. I think there's a number of other tools that have to be addressed in this state, and we have learned that people there's actually a fair amount of support out there for small business, but bringing that together in a one-stop shop, a sort of open for business in Minnesota way of interfacing so that people can establish in a relatively quick way their small business and get people employed, that is going to be important as well. So I think there's a number of things that we can do in that. Certainly Representative Surdich and Senator Metzen's bill, that the Construction Jobs Coalition, there are elements of that bill that can be brought into this as well that we think are important too.
It'd be something not quite as robust as the medicine bill and the Sergich bill. There'll be some narrowing down of that.
Senator, while you're waiting for the governor's supplemental budget recommendations, are you and the House having people develop their own suggested budget?
Yes, yes. Again, one of the things, the sooner we get started, the better. And Senator Cohen and his people are working on things, and presumably the governor will have things in addition to what they think is wise. And so that's where we got to kind of get the mix. But oh yeah, people are working. They've been working since December, and it's not a pleasant picture.
And I think the important thing there is a lot of the information that committee chairs and committees will need bipartisanly is done by the same work that's doing the work for the governor. They work for both of us, and making sure that everyone keeps that in view. We had a few issues with that last year. We hope those are resolved, particularly in getting fiscal notes and things like that. So we're gonna try to work through those issues as well.
Tobacco bonds come up?
No.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody.